How to get over the blockage of pride, mana, of having the pride. And the Bhagavad Gita, it says like there's kind of four ways. Remember? There's four ways. The first one is artha. This is from the 7th chapter, the 16th verse. There's four kinds of virtuous persons who devote themselves to me, says Krishna. And the first one is those who are in distress, right? And that's the first one. And that's actually the most likely. Of all the possibilities, that one's actually the most likely of what's going to help us actually get out of this sort of rut of pride, the pride rut. And that's a good, healthy disaster. See, a good, healthy, nice, clean, healthy, steamroller runs you over, and you're able to get up again. See, not the steamroller that runs you over that you can't get up again, because then it's over, then game over. Then there's no possibility of taking yourself to anybody, except for to a mortician. You see, you take yourself to a mortician instead of a teacher. But to have a good disaster, which means that you have become clear on the concept. You become clear on the concept of what this kind of life is. You see, and the Buddhists say life is suffering. Buddhists say life is dukkha, and not just the Buddhists. The ancient Indian tradition is filled with this kind of stuff. That life is dukkha, filled with dukkha, all the time dukkha. And we don't generally believe it because we're living in designer samsara. We think, no, yeah, that's too bad for those Indians. They believe in dukkha, I guess in India they have dukkha. Because here we have shopping malls, you see. We don't have dukkha here much. Right? We just have like cool stuff on TV and, interesting like special effects movies that we can go to and, games that we can play on our, expensive computers. And, we don't really have much dukkha until what? Until we do, right? until samsara makes itself known to you in an unmistakable way, you see. Until it just like knocks your door down and says, look at me, this is life. This is life, outside of your little bubble, which is like a joke when it comes to Mr. Samsara. Mr. Samsara thinks your bubble is a joke. Mr. Samsara can go, I just made up a new character, Mr. Samsara. Mr. Samsara can go through your bubble at will. See, at will. It's like, we all think we've got this like insurance bubble, like State Farm insurance bubble or something like that, which is going to protect us from the harsh realities of life that other people, of course, experience. We know that because we read about them in the paper, and we see them on CNN, and we know that other people have samsara, other people have dukkha, but somehow we have this kind of insurance bubble here in designer samsara in Tucson, Arizona, which is going to save us from the harsh realities of Mr. Samsara. And he's laughing. He thinks that's the funniest thing. See, funniest thing, because at any time, you can come crashing through your bubble and take it all away. Pretty much take it all away, take you down. There's stories like this in the great classics of world literature. The stories of like when everything just goes wrong. You see, it happens. It's classic. It's a classic sort of story of tragedy, where people just like you and me, who thought their lives were so like set and everything's fine and predictable, right? I know what's going to happen next year. I've got my whole little life plan all worked out, and I'll go to this place, and then I'll get married, and we'll have a child, and blah blah blah. Have this whole thing, and then it just all comes crashing down, like the Book of Job. The Book of Job. You guys should read that if you haven't read it. And just think, I am Job. When you're reading the Book of Job, say, this is the story about me. This could happen to me. You identify with Job. And just like, what if this happened to me? Where, Job's just living a perfect middle-class bourgeois life. He's got like 2 cars in the garage. He's got a wife, got a kids. He's got all the gadgets. He's, the ancient world equivalent, okay? And he just loses everything. See, it can happen just like that. Boom, everything, one by one. I used to volunteer at a homeless shelter in New York, and I went to the homeless shelter with the usual kind of preconception about homeless people. Homeless people they're all bums, and they're kind of all mental cases, and maybe a lot of drug addicts and stuff like that. And you start talking to homeless people, And it's just 2 or 3 things happened. 2 or 3 things between you and homelessness. Just about 2 or 3 things. One, you don't have a family. Your family, like, you don't have the family to back you up. 2, you lose your job. 3, you go into great debt. And then pretty soon you can't pay for your house, and there's nobody there to help you, and boom, you're on the street. Boom, just like that. Ordinary people. And then you go crazy. See, it's not crazy people and go become homeless. You become homeless and then you go crazy. Like within a few weeks of living on the street, people start losing their sanity, and and then you start smelling bad, and then the whole deal happens. It's just ordinary people like you and me with a couple of things. Couple of things went wrong. Couple of things that could go wrong to any of us. You see. So we're all potentially in the same boat. We're all in a suffering life. But we don't really recognize it until what? Until we have to, right? Until we have to. So it's the disaster, you see. It's the disaster that can really, really help us. And so I think pretty much everyone who shows up at things like this has had a disaster. I'm pretty sure of it. Probably everyone has had a disaster, but people who don't show up at a thing like this are even more oblivious about their disasters than you are. There are plenty of people who are totally oblivious about their disasters. They realize, oh my God, I had a bad time, but now it's over, and now I can watch more football, and it'll be okay. I can watch people throw balls to each other and in slow-mo, and for the rest of my life, and everything will be fine. You see? And then there are people maybe you, who remember, wow, that rug was pulled out from underneath me in a dramatic fashion. And maybe I should look for some alternative to keeping all my eggs in a basket that can be dropped at any time. And then you're in this kind of potential. Then you're in the potential of overcoming the pride and being ready to take yourself to a teacher. Being ready to go for help means. And I don't know if you've in my life certainly the times that I actually did go for refuge, real refuge, were the times when the chips were totally down. And then when you do it, when you just are in a mess, when you're just in extremis, and you actually do for the first time or a second time in your whole life maybe say could someone please help me here? Then you realize how you haven't really done that ever before. You just really, you just realize, wow, this is a unique situation here. I'm actually asking for someone else to help me. I'm actually realizing that I have hit the wall and I can't do it myself. I realize that I am not able to help me. And then for the first time, you go for refuge. You go for help outside of yourself, to an object outside of yourself that you think can help. That's real refuge. That's what the texts say is refuge. And that's the only time that anyone ever takes refuge, is when it's like that, you see.